Imagine two people. Both work the same job, earn the same salary, and save the same amount every month for 30 years. One ends up with over $400,000, the other ends up with less than $60,000. Same income, same discipline, completely different outcomes. The only difference? One of them thought they were playing it safe. Today we're going to talk about something most financial advice skips right over: the very real, very measurable cost of doing nothing risky with your money. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why safe is one of the most dangerous words in personal finance. Stick around, because the math we're about to show you is something most banks are quietly hoping you never see. Let's start with a woman named Sandra. Sandra is 35 years old, responsible, hardworking, and proud of the fact that she has $20,000 sitting in her savings account. She sleeps well at night knowing that money isn't going anywhere. What Sandra doesn't realize is that her money is going somewhere. It's just going in the wrong direction. Here's the thing about playing it safe with money. It feels virtuous. It feels responsible. You're not gambling, you're not taking risks, and you're not doing anything reckless. But safe has a cost that nobody puts on the label, and that cost has a name. It's called inflation. Inflation is the slow, steady rise in the price of everything around you: food, rent, gas, healthcare. Every year, these things cost a little more. The average inflation rate in the U.S. over the last 30 years has hovered around 3% per year. That sounds tiny. It is not tiny. Here's what 3% inflation actually means for Sandra's $20,000. In 10 years, that money will only have the purchasing power of about $14,800 in today's dollars. In 20 years, down to around $11,000. Her number in the bank stays the same, but her money is quietly shrinking every single year. That's not safety. That's a slow leak. Now, let's layer in the other side of this trap: the interest rate your bank is actually paying you. Most traditional savings accounts in the U.S. pay somewhere between 0.01% and 0.5% annually. If Sandra has $20,000 in one of those accounts, she's earning maybe $2 to $100 per year in interest. Meanwhile, inflation is eating $600 every year. She's running a deficit and calling it security. This is the inflation trap. And it's not a conspiracy. It's just math that most people never sit down to actually look at. The banks aren't doing anything illegal. They're just counting on the fact that you won't do the calculation. So we're going to do it right now. Let's go back to our two people from the beginning. Person A puts $500 a month into a standard savings account, earning 0.5% for 30 years. They end up with about $186,000. But accounting for inflation, that's really closer to $90,000 in real purchasing power. Person B puts that same $500 a month into a diversified index fund that tracks the historical average market return of around 7% annually. After 30 years, they're sitting on over $566,000. That's a difference of nearly $400,000 from the same $500 a month. Now here's where most people hit the brakes. They say, but investing is risky. What if I lose everything? And this is where we have to make a very important distinction. Because risk and uncertainty are not the same thing. Most people confuse them, and that confusion costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Uncertainty is not knowing exactly what will happen. Markets go up and down. That's uncertainty. But risk is the actual probability of permanent loss. And when you look at the data on diversified long-term investing, the risk of permanent loss over a 20 or 30-year period is historically very low. Every single 20-year period in U.S. stock market history has ended with positive returns. Every one. The real risk isn't in the market going down temporarily. The real risk is that you stay on the sidelines for 30 years, feel safe the entire time, and then reach retirement with a fraction of the wealth you could have had. That is the hidden cost of playing it safe. It doesn't hurt you today. It ambushes you later. So, what does smart money actually look like? It starts with one simple principle. Your money should always be working at least as hard as inflation. That's the baseline. Anything below inflation isn't saving. It's losing in slow motion. Above inflation, you're actually growing. And the tools to do that are more accessible today than at any point in history. Here's what this can look like practically. First, keep 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a high-yield savings account. These are FDIC insured, just like regular savings, but they pay 4 to 5% interest right now instead of 0.5%. That emergency fund stays liquid and at least keeps pace with inflation. Everything beyond that emergency cushion, that's where you start putting money to work. Second, automate index fund contributions. You don't need to pick stocks. You don't need to time the market. A simple S&P 500 index fund through any major brokerage, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, gives you ownership in 500 of the biggest companies in America. Set it to automatic, contribute monthly, and let compounding do the work that Sandra's savings account never could. Third, use tax-advantaged accounts first. A 401k through your employer, especially if they offer a match, is essentially free money. A Roth IRA lets your investments grow completely tax-free. These aren't complicated products. They're just containers that make your investing more efficient. Using them versus not using them can be worth an additional $100,000 or more over a career. Let's go back to Sandra one more time. She's 35. She has $20,000. If she moves her emergency fund to a high-yield savings account and starts putting $300 a month into a simple index fund, she'll have over $500,000 by the time she's 65. Not because she got lucky, not because she found a get-rich-quick scheme, but because she stopped letting the illusion of safety quietly drain her future. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Doing nothing with your money is a financial decision. Leaving cash in a low-interest account for decades is a choice. It just doesn't feel like one because it's comfortable. But comfort and safety are not the same thing. Real financial safety is building a future where your money outlasts your needs, and that requires putting it to work. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a lot of money to start. You just have to understand that the cost of staying still is not zero. It's enormous. And now that you know that, you're already ahead of most people who will keep calling it safe while their future quietly shrinks. Start with one step. Open a high-yield savings account this week. That's it. One step changes the direction.